reducing the number of our youth that are going through the juvenile criminal justice system rather than having alternatives for them instead of incarceration, and ending the, and so that's the mass incarceration of youth, just to let you know, and ending the money bail system, doing something other than forcing people to be imprisoned because they cannot afford to pay until they go to trial.
So we have a mass incarceration problem in our country. The United States is 5% of the world's population, but 25% of the prison population, and it falls along racial lines. 1 in 17 white men will go to jail, and 1 in 3 black men will go to jail. There are major racial inequities within our criminal justice system that have to be addressed. So a couple ideas. 1, we've got to reform bail reform. As mentioned, this is critical. 2, we have to directly address the implicit bias that exists within our system. At every step of the way, from arrests to booking to sentencing to parole, there's implicit bias that exists and falls along racial lines, and this is critical that we address this. Lastly, we've got to support adult school and reentry programs. We can't expect folks to come out of prison without having the education and the training that they need to be successful and expect them not to go back in. So we must support those programs, and I think it's absolutely critical we do that.
So I recently learned that of students of color who graduate high school are 21% likely to end up in the criminal justice system, and those who don't are 70% likely to end up in the criminal justice system. So I think the first thing that we need to do is we need to end the school to prison pipeline. People don't usually see that as a criminal justice issue, but it absolutely is. The second thing is that we have to address reentry. We have to look, people they do their time, and then it's impossible to get back on your feet. It's almost like we're pushing people back down instead of giving them an opportunity to rise up. So that's the second thing. People need to be able to get a profession, a house, get their kids back at a home. I said a house, a home. The third thing is that we need to look at our alternatives to incarceration. I've done a lot of work with restorative justice in the schools as well as in the community and alternatives to incarceration. So we need to stop locking up our young people. We need to stop locking up people and give them an opportunity to succeed.
Thank you. First off, yes, no money bail. That goes without saying. Third, I support the right to vote for people in prison. That's coming on the ballot. I carry that. I support that. All about it. It's important because if you can vote in prison, you become integrated back to society in multiple ways. And also, people like us, politicians, will listen to you and help your plight because you vote. Third, taking this whole deal of this prison as a place of punishment and isolation and degradation and a continuation of the slave plantation idea is you got to create social impact bonds, truly embrace it from the state level, where you can flip the model of prisons on its head. And prisons are now funded by their ability to reduce recidivism and produce people who can feed their families when they exit. That's what we do. Thank you.
My top 3, number 1, and private prisons. Number 2, and our bail bond system, because we all know if you're poor, you're going to be in jail for a long time. But if you're rich and you're able to afford to pay that bail, you'll be out. Sandra Bland probably would not be dead today if she were able to afford that $2,000 bail that they had on her. We also need true expungement. You know, cannabis is legal now. People who went to jail for that should know their records should be sealed and expunged. But in addition to that, I also believe that we should have probations for over a year. I've got long stories of the kids that I work with who are on probation for almost 2 years, 3 years. It's ridiculous and it's not right. As well as having a statewide ban the box for housing and employment.
There's certainly more than 3, but let me just do 3. Number 3 would be expand ban the box and clean slate reform. If people get out of prison or out of jail and they can't get a job because of their past record, even though they've served their time, what do we expect? We're going to see high recidivism rates for some of them. So that's a no-brainer.